Oh boy, pressure's on. I promised you last night I would announce tonight whether I would pursue the Massachusetts Senate seat that will be vacated by John Kerry when he becomes Secretary of State. And because I do everything at the last minute, I still haven't made up my mind. And I now have about 59 minutes left to think about it. Meanwhile, the biggest Republican in the country, and I mean the very, very biggest, is still saying bad things about Republicans.
Christie is charging into battle.
Even though I think I'm right, I'm not going to get everything I want.
Under the banner of bipartisanship.
We're compromising where we need to try to bring compromise and consensus.
The boss, the master of disaster.
And he's now a cover boy.
Christie's cover moment.
We've lost 2 national elections in a row.
His take on his party's identity problem.
Republicans lost at every level.
They can't figure out who they are.
We're finding areas to compromise. You got to compromise and get things done. Compromise and work together.
There's a new poll putting Christie's approval at 73%.
Including 62% of Democrats.
Christie is everywhere.
Christie.
I'm here now with Governor Christie.
Governor Christie, good morning. It's good to have you.
Christie is a headline waiting to happen.
That means he's got crossover appeal. Would you support a federal ban on assault weapons?
Depends on what they do, Matt. These are complicated issues.
The push to do something about guns appears to be picking up steam.
Vice President Biden meets with both sides of the gun control debate.
Vice President Joe Biden's declaration.
The president is going to act.
And that the White House can take executive action
that can be taken
to address gun violence.
Out of the way, Obama's coming.
Is there any room for common ground?
This is going to be a tough one.
A heavy political lift.
The vice president's plan is designed to be big, comprehensive.
Too comprehensive for passage.
That could disappoint a lot of folks.
Well, you know what to say. If at first you don't succeed, it.
Today, Republican Governor Chris Christie told Matt Lauer that the Republican Party is in trouble.
But are you happy with the course of the Republican Party right now? Do you think it's headed in the right direction?
Matt, we've lost 2 national elections in a row. I'd say the answer is no.
Okay, good. So
you're in politics to win, to get your ideas forward. And we've lost 2 national elections in a row. We need to be thinking about doing something different.
Today, Governor Christie appeared on 5 morning shows. He is also on the cover of this week's issue of Time magazine. Today on Morning Joe, Christie gave Republicans this advice.
What are you getting right that Republicans in Washington, D.C. are getting so wrong? Well, what don't they get?
We're compromising when we need to. I mean, I'm in divided government. So I have a Democratic Senate and Democratic Assembly. So what that means is that I'm not going to get everything I want.
Here is what Chris Christie thinks of the Tea Party.
And I don't think they've had too much influence, and I think there's a lot of things at the core of the Tea Party.
You don't think that's why the House Republicans have not been able to get to a fiscal cliff deal?
Listen, I think there's so many reasons, Nora, why they couldn't, and a lot of them are personal, and I talked about this in my press conference. Well, I think they get into these kind of toxic competitions with each other, and these internal kind of palace intrigue things that happen, and don't look at me puzzled, Charlie.
You mean Cantor and Boehner? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I don't mean, I wouldn't limit it to just that. They're a competition among all these folks in that room.
Governor Christie supported an assault weapons ban in his state. Here's what he said about a federal assault weapons ban.
Would you support a federal ban on assault weapons?
Depends on what they do, Matt. My point is
Why not just say yes or no?
Well, because it's not that easy. I mean, I know in a short interview like this, you'd like him to give you pithy answers. But, the fact is these are complicated issues. And my point is I'm willing to have that conversation. Now, that's a lot more than a lot of other people are willing to say.
And today, Christie continued to pressure House Republicans to increase spending on Hurricane Sandy relief.
What specifically do you want your party in Washington to learn?
Well, I mean, first off, that something like Sandy is and was above politics.
According to a new national PPP poll, 51% of registered voters view Governor Christie favorably, 23% view him unfavorably. Christie is actually more popular among Democrats than Republicans. 52% of Democrats view him favorably, 23% unfavorably. Just 48% of Republicans view him favorably, 27% unfavorably. Governor Christie is most popular among independents nationally. 52% view him favorably, 18% unfavorably. Today, Governor Christie did not rule out a run for president.
What are the prospects of a Chris Christie-Hillary Clinton presidential race in 2016?
You know, they're as good as the prospects of anybody else against anybody else.
The call comes in 2016. You'll be ready?
Listen, I will be more ready than I was in 2012.
Crystal ball, that's as much as an I'm running statement as he could possibly make this far ahead of 2016.
Yeah, I think that's right. And obviously by all the press that he is embracing and being on the cover of Time, et cetera, I mean, that's not specifically necessary for him to win re-election in New Jersey. And you do notice also after coming out so strongly against his own party, against John Boehner and the congressional Republicans, he definitely dialed it back a bit today. There was a lot more hedging. There was a lot more, well, we'll have to see. I'm willing to have the conversation about the assault weapons ban. But you do notice that for the national audience, he's trying to be more centrist, to be more palatable to the Republicans who would ultimately have to get him through a primary.
And Ari Melber, the federal assault weapons ban is when he got very presidential, Republican presidential in his dealing with that question. He just wanted to get away from that and not leave any record there.
Yeah, I mean, he was a federal prosecutor. He has a mastery of many of these issues. He actually understands what it means to use the state or federal laws that are available to try to prosecute and deal with these matters. He knows how much a prosecutor's hands have been tied with the expiration of the federal ban. So I don't think that his vagueness about saying it's uncertain rings totally true. But I disagree a little bit with Crystal. I think the standard...
What? I beg your pardon. Excuse me.
Excuse me. Yeah. I think I think the standard playbook when you are running, really in both parties, is to hang back, really be super cautious about everything, and try to create an aura of people almost recruiting you in. Whether you win or lose, I mean, that's what Romney did. That's what a lot of folks do. This is a little different to my eye. I think what he actually wants to do is position himself as the leader of the Republican Party right now. That is probably politically more dangerous than hanging back, but I think he enjoys it. I think he thinks he will also ride that into becoming the nominee. But first and foremost, he doesn't like the way these guys are talking, and he thinks he's as good as anybody else. That's what he's done his whole career.
Here's what I think he's doing effectively for the Democrats. I think he, Crystal, is helping make Washington Republicans look ridiculous. Yep. Because here is a tough-talking, tough-sounding Republican who is saying they are ridiculous.
Right. Well, and a tough-sounding, tough-talking Republican that Republicans used to, at least, love. I mean, they adored this guy. The Tea Party loved this guy. They swooned for him. So, yes, Democrats are delighting in how direct he's been in criticizing congressional Republicans. And going back to your point, Ari, I mean, I think Chris Christie is a very talented politician. I think that he is far more talented than anyone the Republicans had to offer this year. And I don't think that he's stupid either. I think he realizes that not only would he have to get through a primary, but he'd have to have a shot at winning a general election. And that is not going to happen with the Republican Party looking like it is right now.
All right, let's listen to two New York Republicans tonight on Fox News talking about the Republican Party and what they need to do. Rudy Giuliani and that other New York Republican, Sean Hannity.
Republicans should pass bills in the House of Representatives.
One after another.
Reducing spending. Let's present a realistic picture of how you can reduce this deficit, and then dare the Senate to vote against it, and then dare the President to veto it if the Senate should vote for it.
And if they have to, only essential areas of government get funded.
Absolutely right. I mean,
that's it. They have to be willing to shut it down until the President
everyone.
Where has Giuliani been napping? This, of course, is what the clowns in the Republican House of Representatives have been doing. They've been passing these ridiculous bills, and as Giuliani puts it, dare the Senate not to pass it. The Senate doesn't even look at them, Rudy. They've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, well, I always enjoy Rudy and Sean Hannity playing Truth or Dare. I think that's a fun activity. But they do look a little out of touch, and maybe that's because Rudy's not following it very closely. The House has outlined a bunch of different misleading budget proposals and passed them and passed versions of them and pushed the Ryan plan. We know what that looks like. We know that it involves the complete disassembling of programs like Social Security and Medicare. And no, the Senate will pass on it. It's not a governing plan.
And by the way, that strategy has been a disaster because Democrats don't feel dared to pass the bills, and it allows them to say this is exactly what the Republicans want to cut and what they stand for, and the American people don't like it.
And by the way, whenever we have had a divided Congress, one body being Republican, the other being Democrat, Neither one has ever cared what the other body does. Like, they just never cared.
Right.
I mean, when the Republicans controlled the Senate and Tip O'Neill was the Speaker of the House, he didn't care what they passed in the Senate. There's nothing new in that.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea that you're going to, go to a conference committee over a 100% pure Tea Party budget-cutting bill is crazy, but Rudy's never worked in Congress.
All right, we got to wrap it up here because I gotta use every.
What are you going to do?
I got to use every minute I have to figure out whether I really want to go after that Massachusetts Senate seat.
I think you should go for it.
Have you conferred with Barney?
I should go for it.
Have you conferred with Barney?
You know, I'm actually going to have Barney on the show later because after I floated my name last night, turns out he's got something to say about that.
Really?
So yeah, so he's gonna be here.
I didn't even know that.
But okay, I've got Crystal's support.
I'm still.
You used to work for John Kerry. People are looking to you right now because you know
This
what
is
it
an important
takes
endorsement.
to do this kind of job in the Senate.
Look, like Chris Christie,
the Melber endorsement is what everybody
highly
wants.
sought
I have no idea. These are complicated questions, and I'm going to continue to review all the facts.
Oh, what a
It's a
politician.
conversation we should have.
What a politician. All right, we're going to be back. I'm going to continue to try to figure this out.